She's 82 years old and pregnant. Impossible. That's what we all thought. But Eleanor Hartwell's story is about to shake everything you believe. Neighbors whispering, horrified. It's true. And the father, he's only 27. I love her. You don't know the full story. A small town explodes with rumors. But buried beneath the whispers is a secret so powerful it could cost Eleanor her life and her unborn child. Is this a miracle or a tragedy waiting to happen? What happened next left the entire world speechless. This is the story they tried to hide. The night was very quiet in Cedar Falls, Montana. The little town always slept early. But in one small cottage covered in ivy, Eleanor Hartwell sat alone in her chair, looking out of the window. She was 82 years old with soft silver hair and a kind face that looked tired tonight. Her house was full of memories. She had lived there for more than 50 years. Every corner reminded her of her late husband, Walter. He had died a long time ago, and the house had been quiet ever since. She often thought about him when she sat by the window at night. But tonight, Eleanor was not thinking about Walter. She was worried about herself. She had been feeling strange for weeks. She was tired all the time, food made her feel sick, and there was a soft fluttering in her stomach that she could not explain. Maybe it's just the age, she told herself. But deep down, she knew something was wrong. The next morning, Eleanor decided to visit the doctor. She walked slowly to the Cedar Falls clinic with her handbag clutched close. Mrs. Patterson, her kind neighbor, had told her to go days ago, but Eleanor had been too scared. At the clinic, Dr. Morrison smiled warmly at her. "Good morning, Eleanor. Sit down. Tell me how you feel." Eleanor sighed. "I feel tired. I can't eat much. My body feels strange." Dr. Morrison checked her blood pressure and heart rate. "Everything looks fine," he said. "But I think we should run a few tests just to be sure." He took her blood and told her to wait. Eleanor sat in the small waiting room, her hands shaking slightly. She looked around at the bright white walls and tried to calm herself. An hour later, Dr. Morrison called her back into his office. He held a thin manila folder in his hands. He looked nervous. "Eleanor," he said slowly, "I have your test results." Eleanor's heart raced. "Is it bad?" Dr. Morrison swallowed hard. "Eleanor, you're pregnant." The world stopped. Eleanor blinked at him, confused. "I'm sorry. What did you say?" "You are pregnant," Dr. Morrison said again. Eleanor stared at him, unable to breathe. No, that's not possible," she whispered. "I'm 82 years old. How can I be pregnant?" "I checked the test 3 times," Dr. Morrison said. "I even sent it to the lab in Billings to confirm. Eleanor, there is no mistake. You're 6 weeks pregnant." Eleanor felt her whole body go weak. She gripped the chair so she would not fall. This can't be true," she whispered. Dr. Morrison's voice was gentle. "I know this is a shock. I don't understand how it happened either, but Eleanor, your body is carrying a baby." She shook her head, tears filling her eyes. "I haven't been with anyone since my husband died, except—" Her heart stopped. She remembered Tyler Brooks. Tyler was a young black man of 27 who had fixed her leaking roof 2 months ago. He was tall and kind with soft green eyes, dark skin that gleamed in the sunlight, and a smile that made the room feel warm. Eleanor had enjoyed his company as he worked. He was always polite and gentle. One rainy night, he had stayed for tea. They had talked for hours about books and life. Eleanor had felt something she had not felt in years. A connection. That night, one soft moment of closeness had changed everything. Eleanor pressed her hand to her mouth. Could it be Tyler? When she left the clinic, Eleanor felt like the world was spinning. She walked home in a daze. Everyone on Main Street seemed to be staring at her. She wondered if they already knew. She reached her cottage and closed the door behind her. Her chest felt heavy. She could not stop thinking about Tyler. He was so young. Would he hate her for this? Would he run away? There was a knock on the door. Eleanor jumped. She opened it slowly. Tyler stood there, wet from the light rain. His dark skin glistened with raindrops, and his eyes were full of worry. "Eleanor," he said softly, "I heard what happened at the clinic. Is it true?" Eleanor felt her face heat. She nodded, tears forming in her eyes. Tyler stepped closer. "Eleanor, is it mine?" "You are the only man I have been with," she whispered. Tyler's face changed. He looked shocked but also protective. He reached out and held her hand gently. "Eleanor," he said in a quiet voice, "I am not leaving you. But I care about you. We will face this together." Eleanor shook her head, tears falling down her cheeks. "You're only 27, Tyler. People will hate you. You should not throw away your life for me." "I don't care what they think," Tyler said. "I only care about you and the baby." Eleanor's heart broke at his kindness. She began to cry softly, and Tyler pulled her into his arms. He held her close, and for the first time that day, she felt safe. The next morning, Eleanor opened her front door and froze. A crowd of people stood outside her house. Neighbors, strangers, reporters with cameras. "Eleanor," someone shouted, "is it true you are pregnant at 82? Who is the father?" Another called, "Did you do this for money?" Cameras flashed in her face. Eleanor's hand shook. She closed the door quickly and locked it. Her heart was racing. On the table was an envelope that had been pushed through the mail slot. Eleanor picked it up with trembling fingers. She opened it slowly and read the words written in black ink. "End the pregnancy or you will not live to see the birth." Eleanor gasped. She pressed her hand to her mouth and looked around the room. Was someone watching her? She held her stomach and whispered to the tiny life growing inside her, "I will protect you no matter what." But deep inside she felt afraid. This was only the beginning. Eleanor could not sleep that night. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The words from the letter would not leave her mind. "End the pregnancy or you will not live to see the birth." She felt fear crawl through her body. Who would write something so cruel? She thought about telling Tyler, but she didn't want him to worry. He was already dealing with enough. In the morning, there was a gentle knock at the door. "Eleanor, it's me." Tyler's voice called. Eleanor opened the door slowly. Tyler stood there holding a bunch of small wildflowers from the Montana hills. Rain dripped from his dark hair, and his brown skin looked tired, but his eyes were determined. "I thought these would brighten your day," he said softly, handing the flowers to her. Eleanor gave him a small smile. "You are so kind, Tyler. But you should not be here. People will talk." "They already are," Tyler said with a hard look in his eyes. "But I don't care what they say. I only care about you." He placed a newspaper on the table. Eleanor's heart sank when she saw it. On the front page was her picture, big and clear. The headline screamed, 82 and pregnant. Who is the father? Eleanor's hands shook as she picked it up. The article was full of ugly words. It called her names. It called Tyler a liar. Eleanor's lips trembled. "Tyler, I don't want to ruin your life," she whispered. Tyler knelt in front of her. "Eleanor, you are not ruining my life. I am here because I want to be. You and the baby matter to me." Tears filled Eleanor's eyes. "But you are only 27. Your family, they will hate me for this." "They already do," Tyler said quietly. "They called me last night. My father told me I'm no longer welcome in their house in Bozeman. He said I have brought shame to the family name." Eleanor gasped. "Oh, Tyler, I am so sorry." Tyler shook his head. "Don't be. I choose to be here with you. I don't care if the whole world hates me." Eleanor's heart ached at his words. He was so young yet so strong. She reached out and held his hand, and for a moment, she felt safe. Later that day, Tyler insisted they go to the clinic together for another appointment. Eleanor was scared, but she agreed. When they stepped outside, the street was full of people. Neighbors whispered, reporters shouted questions, and pushed cameras into their faces. Eleanor, is it true you're pregnant at 82? Who is the father? Is it this young man? Did you do this for money? Eleanor felt small and weak as the cameras flashed. Tyler put his dark arm around her shoulders and led her quickly to the clinic. Inside, Dr. Morrison was waiting. He looked very serious. Eleanor, Tyler, he said, please sit down. Eleanor sat down, her hands trembling. Is something wrong, doctor? Dr. Morrison paused. Your blood tests show something strange. Eleanor, your body is working like a young woman's. This should not be possible at your age. I do not understand how this happened. Tyler frowned. Is the baby in danger? I can't say for sure, Dr. Morrison replied. Eleanor, you're at very high risk. Your heart, your bones, your whole body will be under great stress. There could be complications. Eleanor felt tears well up in her eyes. Do you want to continue the pregnancy? Dr. Morrison asked softly. Eleanor looked at Tyler. She placed a hand on her stomach. Yes, she said firmly. This baby is a miracle. I will not give it up. Tyler nodded and squeezed her hand. We will not give up, he said. Dr. Morrison smiled sadly. Then I will do everything I can to keep you and the baby safe. When they got back home, Eleanor hoped for peace. But trouble came again. A car stopped outside her cottage. The door opened, and Judith Hartwell, Eleanor's younger sister, stepped out. She was in her 70s with sharp eyes and a mouth that rarely smiled. Eleanor's heart sank. She had not seen Judith in 15 years. Judith stormed into the house without knocking. Eleanor Hartwell, what have you done? Eleanor stood frozen. Judith. Judith's eyes turned to Tyler. She pointed at him with anger, her voice sharp with disgust. Who? You are the father, aren't you? Shame on you. She is old enough to be your grandmother. A young black man like you should know better. Judith, please. It's not like that, Eleanor begged. Oh, it is exactly like that, Judith shouted. You have made the whole family look like fools. People are laughing at us everywhere. Tyler stepped forward. I love Eleanor, he said. That is all that matters. Judith laughed bitterly. Don't be stupid. You just want her money. You think she will die soon, and you will get everything. Judith! Eleanor cried, tears in her eyes. Stop it. But Judith only turned and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Don't expect me to stand by and watch you destroy our family name, she shouted from outside. You will regret this, Eleanor. Mark my words. Eleanor sank into a chair, shaking. Tyler knelt beside her and held her hand. Don't listen to her, he said softly. She doesn't know us. We must stay strong. Eleanor nodded weakly, but inside she felt afraid. Judith's words had cut deep. That night, Eleanor sat on the edge of her bed, her hands gently resting on her stomach. She could feel a tiny flutter inside her, as if the baby was reminding her it was alive. She whispered, Little one, I don't know how we will survive this, but I promise I will protect you. Tyler's quiet footsteps came from the hallway. He appeared in the doorway. Eleanor, he said, are you all right? She wiped her tears quickly. I'm fine, Tyler. Just thinking. He crossed the room and sat beside her. For a moment, they said nothing. Then Tyler reached for her hand. Eleanor, he said softly, I want you to know I am here for you. I am not leaving, no matter what people say. Eleanor turned to him with wet eyes. You deserve someone your age, someone who can give you a normal life. You are my life, Tyler whispered. Eleanor's heart ached at his words. She wanted to believe him. The next morning, another letter came through the door. Eleanor picked it up with shaking hands. You were warned. Stop the pregnancy, or you and the boy will not live to hold the baby. Eleanor gasped. The threat was even worse now. She looked out the window, but there was no one there. She pressed her hand to her stomach and whispered, I will keep you safe, little one. I don't care what they do to me. But Eleanor knew now that someone was watching them, someone who would stop at nothing. Eleanor woke up to the sound of voices outside her house. It was still dark. Her old clock showed 3 o'clock in the morning. She held her breath and listened. She heard footsteps. Someone was walking around the cottage. Her heart raced. She slowly reached for the flashlight by her bed. Then she heard it, a low voice. She's inside. Keep watch. Eleanor froze. She wanted to scream, but fear closed her throat. She tiptoed to Tyler's room. He had been sleeping in a spare room since the threat started. She pushed the door open quietly. Tyler, she whispered. Wake up. Tyler opened his eyes quickly. What is it? There are people outside, Eleanor whispered. I heard them. Tyler jumped up and grabbed a baseball bat he kept by the bed. Stay here, he said. No, Eleanor whispered. I'm not leaving you alone. They crept into the hallway together. The old floorboards creaked. Suddenly, there was a loud crash. The front door burst open. 2 men in black masks stormed inside. Get the woman, one shouted. Eleanor screamed. Tyler stepped in front of her with the bat. Stay back, he shouted. One man swung at Tyler and knocked the bat from his hand. Tyler fought back, punching the man in the chest, but the second man grabbed Eleanor's arm. Let her go, Tyler shouted. The masked man shoved Eleanor to the floor. She felt pain shoot through her back. Leave us alone, she cried. One of the men pulled out a knife. End the pregnancy, or we will end you, he hissed. Tyler's eyes blazed with anger. He grabbed a chair and swung it, hitting the man with the knife. The man fell back, dropping the blade. Run, Eleanor, Tyler shouted, but Eleanor could not run fast. Her legs were shaking. Tyler grabbed her hand and pulled her towards the kitchen door. They ran out into the garden and hid behind the old barn, breathing hard. They waited. After a few minutes, the men left. Eleanor and Tyler stayed still until the sound of a car engine faded into the distance. Eleanor was shaking so badly she could barely stand. Why are they doing this? She whispered. Tyler put his arms around her. I don't know, he said, but we will not let them hurt you or the baby. The next morning, Eleanor and Tyler went straight to the clinic to see Dr. Morrison. Eleanor told him everything. Dr. Morrison looked worried. This is very serious, he said. You must stay somewhere safe. And Eleanor, there is something I must tell you. Eleanor felt her stomach tighten. What is it, doctor? Dr. Morrison took a deep breath. I have been studying your blood tests again. Eleanor, your body is not like a normal 82-year-old woman. It is producing hormones like a woman in her 20s. Your organs, they are working better than they should at your age. Eleanor frowned. But how is that possible? Dr. Morrison hesitated. Do you remember about 5 years ago when you had special treatment for your arthritis? You told me it was a trial from a research group in Great Falls. Yes, Eleanor said slowly. They said it might help my joints. That treatment used stem cells, Dr. Morrison explained. I think it has done something to your body. It may have repaired more than your joints. It may have made you fertile again. Eleanor's eyes widened. Tyler looked confused. Are you saying Eleanor's pregnancy is because of that treatment? Yes, Dr. Morrison said. It is the only thing that makes sense. And if the people who attacked you know this, They may want the baby because of what it could mean. Eleanor's breath caught in her throat. What could it mean? Tyler asked. Dr. Morrison nodded. If the baby carries the same changes, it could hold secrets scientists dream of. Secrets about life and aging. Eleanor felt dizzy. Oh my God, she whispered. That evening, Eleanor sat on the sofa with Tyler. He held her hand gently. Eleanor, he said softly, I don't want you to be scared. We will protect you and the baby. I promise. Tears filled Eleanor's eyes. Tyler, I am so tired. I am afraid all the time. I don't want you to get hurt because of me. Tyler shook his head. I will never leave you. You are not alone. He pulled her close and held her. Tyler's dark hands were warm and strong as he held her. Eleanor closed her eyes and let herself rest against him. She could feel the baby move softly in her stomach, as if it knew she needed comfort. Do you ever regret it? Eleanor whispered. Being with me that night. Tyler lifted her chin gently so she would look at him. Never, he said. You are the best thing in my life. I don't care what people say. Eleanor's heart ached. But I'm so much older than you. I don't care about age, Tyler said. I care about you. Eleanor looked into his kind eyes. For a moment, the fear melted away, but the peace did not last. 3 days later, a police car arrived at Eleanor's house. An officer stepped out and handed Tyler a letter. It was found near your garden, the officer said. Tyler opened it with shaking hands. You have been warned. Next time we won't miss. Tyler's brown face went pale. He showed it to Eleanor. She gasped and clutched her stomach. We must leave, Tyler said. It is not safe here. Where will we go? Eleanor asked. I don't know yet, Tyler said. But I will find a place somewhere no one will find us. Eleanor nodded slowly. She knew he was right. As she packed a small bag, she looked around her cottage one last time. She had lived there for more than 50 years. It held all her memories of Walter, of her children and grandchildren visiting when they were young. Now she was leaving it behind. She touched her stomach softly. I will keep you safe, she whispered to the baby. Tyler came to her side and took her hand. Ready? Eleanor nodded, though her heart was heavy. They walked out together and got into Tyler's pickup truck. But as they drove down the gravel road, leaving Cedar Falls, a black SUV started to follow them slowly. Eleanor and Tyler drove for hours, leaving Cedar Falls far behind. The black SUV that had been following them was gone now, but they still felt like someone was watching. Eleanor kept looking out of the window, clutching her small handbag and the baby growing in her stomach. Where are we going? She asked softly. Somewhere safe, Tyler said, keeping his eyes on the mountain road. A friend of mine owns a cabin near Glacier National Park. No one will find us there. Eleanor nodded, though her heart was heavy. She missed her little cottage already. She had left everything behind. The memories, the warmth, the life she had known for so many years. Tyler, she said softly, I feel like I'm dragging you into danger. You're so young. You could walk away now and start a normal life. Tyler reached over and held her hand tightly. I'm not going anywhere, Eleanor. I care about you. I care about this baby. We're in this together. Tears filled Eleanor's eyes. She turned her face to him, and for a moment, their hands stayed linked. That soft touch made her feel less alone. The cabin was small and quiet, hidden deep in the pine woods. Tyler parked the truck outside and helped Eleanor inside. The place smelled like pine wood and dust, but it felt safe. Eleanor sat on the old sofa, rubbing her stomach. The baby kicked softly and she smiled. Do you feel that? She asked Tyler. He knelt beside her and touched her stomach gently. His warm hand rested on her, and his eyes lit up when he felt a tiny kick. That's amazing, he whispered. Eleanor's throat tightened with emotion. She reached for Tyler's Han, and he squeezed it gently. For a long moment, they just looked at each other. "Tyler," Eleanor said softly, "do you ever regret that night we spent together? It feels like we've caused so much trouble." Tyler shook his head. "No, never. That night gave me you, and now it's giving us this baby. I don't regret it for a second." Eleanor's eyes grew wet. She leaned forward slowly, and Tyler met her halfway. Their lips touched softly. It was a gentle, tender kiss filled with feelings they couldn't put into words. When they pulled back, Tyler brushed a strand of her silver hair from her face. "We'll get through this, Eleanor. I promise." Eleanor smiled weakly. "I want to believe that." But peace never lasted long. Late one evening, Eleanor was in the kitchen making tea when she heard the sound of a car engine outside. She froze. "Tyler," she whispered. Tyler grabbed the baseball bat he kept by the door and peeked out the window. "There's a car out there," he said. "Two people. They're coming to the door." Eleanor's heart raced. She held her stomach and stepped back. A loud knock shook the cabin door. "Eleanor," a voice called. Eleanor's eyes widened. She knew that voice. "Judith." "Yes, it's me," Judith said from outside. "Please open the door. I need to talk to you." Tyler looked at Eleanor with suspicion. "We can't trust her. She hates me. She could have told those men where we are." Eleanor shook her head. "She's my sister. She wouldn't." But Eleanor wasn't sure. She opened the door slowly. Judith stepped inside, her eyes darting around. "So, this is where you've been hiding," she said. Eleanor stepped closer. "Judith, how did you find us?" Judith hesitated. I asked around. I wanted to warn you. Eleanor, you're in danger. These people, they're powerful. They will not stop until they get what they want." Tyler crossed his arms. "And what do they want?" Judith looked at Eleanor's stomach. "The baby," she said softly. Eleanor felt her knees weaken. "Why?" Judith's voice dropped. "I overheard one of the men in town. He said your baby is worth millions. They think the baby's blood can change everything, stop aging, and make people live forever." Tyler's jaw tightened. "So, you've known all along?" he said coldly. "And you told them where we are, didn't you?" Judith's eyes widened. "No, I came here to help you." But Tyler didn't believe her. He grabbed her arm. "Tell the truth." Eleanor stepped forward. "Tyler, stop. She's my sister." At that moment, a loud crash came from outside. The windows shattered as masked men burst into the cabin. Eleanor screamed and clutched her stomach. Tyler pushed Judith to the floor and grabbed Eleanor's hand. "Run," he shouted, but there was nowhere to run. One of the men grabbed Tyler and punched him hard in the face. He fell to the ground, blood dripping from his lip. "Tyler!" Eleanor cried. Another man grabbed her arms. "Come quietly," he growled. Eleanor fought to break free. "Let me go," she screamed. Judith stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. "Please don't hurt her," she begged. But the men didn't care. One of them held up a syringe filled with a strange glowing liquid. "No!" Tyler shouted. He lunged forward, knocking the syringe away. It rolled across the floor. The leader of the men stepped closer. His voice was cold. "You've made a mistake, Tyler. This woman and her baby belong to us now." Eleanor's heart pounded. She didn't know what they were going to do, but she knew she had to protect her child. "Please," she whispered. "Please don't hurt my baby." The man smirked. "We don't want to hurt it, old woman. We want it alive." Tyler pushed himself up, rage in his eyes. "You'll have to go through me first," he said. The cabin exploded into chaos. Chairs crashed. Glass shattered. Tyler fought like his life depended on it. He managed to knock one man down, but another hit him hard in the back. Eleanor tried to run, but a man grabbed her arm. She twisted and bit his hand. He roared in pain and let go. "Eleanor!" Tyler shouted. "Get out!" Eleanor stumbled out of the cabin and into the cold night air. Judith ran after her, sobbing. "I didn't tell them," Judith cried. "You have to believe me." Eleanor turned on her sister, her face pale. "I don't know who to believe anymore." Behind them, Tyler fought desperately. "Go!" he shouted. Eleanor hesitated, but then another masked man appeared at the door with a gun. "Run!" Tyler screamed. Eleanor and Judith ran into the dark woods, branches scratching their arms. Eleanor's heart pounded as she clutched her stomach. She could hear footsteps behind them. The men were following. She wanted to scream, but she had no breath left. They reached a small creek at the edge of the forest. Eleanor was exhausted. She fell to her knees. Judith grabbed her arm. "We have to cross," she said. Eleanor looked at the cold water rushing past. I can't." "Yes, you can," Judith shouted. Eleanor took a deep breath and stepped into the freezing water. She held on to Judith as they waded across. On the other side, they collapsed on the muddy bank. Eleanor looked back and saw flashlights moving through the trees. "They're coming," she whispered. Judith held her sister's hand. "We'll keep moving. I'll protect you. I promise." But Eleanor's heart was breaking. She didn't know if she could trust Judith, and she didn't know if Tyler was still alive. The night was cold, and the forest was silent except for Eleanor's ragged breathing. She could barely walk now. Her legs trembled, and every step felt heavier than the last. Judith held her arm firmly, pulling her along through the dark trees. "Come on, Eleanor," Judith whispered. "We can't stop now. They're still behind us." Eleanor pressed a hand to her stomach. The baby shifted inside her. She felt a sharp pain. "Judith, I can't. I need to rest," she whispered. Judith stopped and looked around. The forest was too quiet. No footsteps, no voices. But Eleanor could feel the danger creeping closer, as if the trees themselves were watching. "We'll rest for just 1 minute," Judith said, helping Eleanor sit on a fallen log. "But then we have to move." Eleanor stared at her sister through tearful eyes. "Judith, I don't know if I can trust you. You found us at the cabin, and then those men came." Judith's face tightened. "You think I told them?" "Eleanor, I didn't. I came to warn you. I know I was harsh before, but I would never sell you out." Eleanor shook her head. "I want to believe you, but everything is falling apart." Judith knelt in front of her and grabbed her hands. "Listen to me. We're all we have now. Tyler." She hesitated. Eleanor's heart thumped painfully. "What about Tyler?" Judith swallowed. "When we ran from the cabin, I don't think he made it out." Eleanor gasped. "No, don't say that. He's strong. He's alive. He has to be." But deep inside, she felt a chill. They kept walking until the forest thinned out. Ahead was a small abandoned church. Its doors were broken, its windows cracked. Judith pointed. "We can hide there for the night." Eleanor hesitated. The place looked haunted, but she was too weak to argue. Inside, the church was silent and dusty. They found a corner behind the altar and sat on the cold floor. Judith wrapped her coat around Eleanor. "Try to sleep," she whispered. Eleanor closed her eyes, but her mind was full of Tyler. She remembered his warm hands, his soft voice telling her he loved her. Tears ran down her cheeks silently. Suddenly, there was a sound outside. The crunch of boots on dry leaves. Judith's eyes widened. "They found us," she whispered. Eleanor clutched her stomach. The baby kicked as if it too could sense the fear. The church door creaked open. Eleanor and Judith held their breath. A figure stepped inside slowly. Tall, broad-shouldered, familiar. "Tyler," Eleanor gasped. "Yes," he said softly, stepping into the moonlight. His face was bruised and bloody, but his eyes still burned with determination. Eleanor scrambled to her feet and ran to him. He caught her in his arms and held her close. She felt his heart pounding against hers. "I thought I'd lost you," she whispered through tears. "I'll never leave you," Tyler said softly. Judith stood in the shadows, her arms crossed. "How did you find us?" Tyler looked at her coldly. "I followed your trail. You led them straight to us before, Judith. I had to make sure you weren't doing it again." Judith's face twisted. "You still think I betrayed you?" Tyler didn't answer. Suddenly, a voice boomed from outside. "Eleanor Hartwell, come out now or we burn this place down." Eleanor's blood ran cold. "They found us," Judith whispered. Tyler pulled Eleanor behind the altar. "Stay down," he said. But the men didn't wait. One threw a torch through a broken window. Flames erupted at the back of the church. Smoke filled the air. "They'll kill us," Judith cried. Tyler grabbed Eleanor's hand. "We have to fight our way out. Stay behind me." He found a broken metal cross and held it like a weapon. Eleanor clung to his shirt, coughing in the smoke. The doors burst open, and the masked men rushed inside. Tyler struck the first man hard, knocking him down. The second man lunged at him, and they crashed into the altar. Eleanor screamed as one of the men grabbed her arm. "Let her go!" Tyler shouted, hitting the man across the back. Judith grabbed a loose stone and smashed it against another man's head. He dropped to the floor, unconscious. The flames grew higher. Smoke made it hard to see. "Out the side door!" Tyler shouted. Eleanor stumbled after him, coughing. Judith followed, dragging her coat over her mouth. They burst out into the cold night air. They ran until their legs gave out. They collapsed in a clearing, gasping for breath. Tyler pulled Eleanor close. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "No, but I can't keep running like this, Tyler. I'm too old. And the baby." Tyler held her hand gently. "We'll find a way, Eleanor. I swear it." Judith stood a few feet away, her arms wrapped tightly around herself. "They won't stop," she whispered. "Not until they get what they want." Eleanor looked at her. "Judith, tell me the truth. Why are they after us? Do you know something?" Judith hesitated. Then she spoke, her voice trembling. "I heard rumors months ago. The people chasing you are part of a secret organization. They knew about the treatment you had years ago. They want the baby because it could make them rich. The baby's blood could stop aging." Eleanor stared at her. "And you waited until now to tell me?" Judith's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't know it was real. I thought it was just gossip." Tyler stepped forward. "If you ever lie to us again, Judith, you're on your own," he said coldly. Judith nodded, shaking. They needed somewhere safer. Tyler led them to an old farmhouse miles away. It was falling apart, but it was better than sleeping outside. That night, Eleanor and Tyler sat together on a dusty mattress. "Do you think we'll ever have peace again?" Eleanor asked softly. Tyler looked into her eyes. "Yes, I promise you, one day we'll raise our baby somewhere safe, away from all of this." Eleanor felt tears prick her eyes. She leaned her head on his shoulder. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Tyler kissed the top of her head. "You'll never have to find out." They sat like that for a long time, holding each other as the baby moved gently inside Eleanor. But outside in the darkness, a pair of eyes watched them from the trees, and a cold voice whispered, "It's time." Eleanor woke to the sound of the wind howling through the broken windows of the farmhouse. She sat up slowly, every bone in her body aching. The room was cold and silent, too silent. Tyler wasn't beside her. She reached out instinctively, but the space where he had been sleeping was empty. "Tyler," she called softly. Her voice trembled. No reply. Fear crept into her heart. She pushed herself to her feet and began to search the small rooms. "Tyler," she called again, louder this time. Her hands shook as she checked the bathroom, the kitchen, and even the dark corners of the dusty living room, but there was no sign of him. Eleanor stepped outside into the biting night air. The sky was moonless, and the trees around the farmhouse swayed like dark shadows. "Tyler," she cried into the emptiness. Only the wind answered her. Judith appeared suddenly behind her, making Eleanor jump. Her sister's eyes darted around nervously. "Where is he?" Eleanor demanded. "Where is Tyler?" Judith held up a torn piece of paper. "He left this," she said. Her voice trembled. Eleanor snatched the note and read the hurried words written in Tyler's handwriting. "They found me. I'm going to them so they don't hurt you. Stay hidden. Protect the baby." Eleanor's knees gave way. She dropped to the ground, clutching the note to her chest. "No, no, you wouldn't leave me," she whispered, tears blurring her vision. Judith crouched down beside her. "Eleanor, you must listen to me. If they've taken him, you can't go after him. You'll get yourself and the baby killed." Eleanor shook her head. "I can't just sit here and do nothing. Tyler is out there and they'll kill him." "Please," Judith begged, grabbing her shoulders. "We need to stay alive. If we run after them, they'll find us, too." Eleanor stared at her sister through the tears. Something inside her was twisting, a voice whispering that something wasn't right. "Judith," she said slowly, "how did you know Tyler was taken? How did you find this note?" Judith froze for a fraction of a second before she spoke. I woke up and saw it by the door," she said quickly. "That's all." Eleanor's stomach tightened. She wanted to believe Judith, but doubt was gnawing at her heart. Hours passed in painful silence. Eleanor sat in the corner of the farmhouse, clutching her stomach as the baby shifted inside her. She was tired, hungry, and her heart ached for Tyler. Then, as dawn began to break, a loud knock thundered at the front door. Eleanor froze. Judith's eyes widened in fear. "Stay here," Judith whispered, creeping towards the door. But Eleanor grabbed her arm. "No, if it's them, we can't open it." Before Judith could respond, the door burst open. A tall man in a black coat stepped inside, his face half hidden in shadow. He wasn't wearing a mask, but there was something dangerous in his cold eyes. Two more men followed him, blocking the exit. Eleanor's heart pounded. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice shaking. The man in the black coat smiled coldly. "We want you, Eleanor Hartwell, and the child you're carrying." Eleanor stepped back instinctively. "You can't have my baby." The man's smile didn't falter. "You don't understand, old woman. That child is special. The blood in its veins could change the world. People would pay anything for it." "I don't care," Eleanor shouted, clutching her stomach. "This is my baby. You'll never take it." The man nodded to the others. "Take her." The two men lunged forward. Eleanor screamed and tried to run, but one grabbed her arm while the other held her down. Judith stood frozen, her hands over her mouth. "Judith, help me!" Eleanor cried. Judith took a step forward, then stopped. Her eyes were full of guilt. And that was when Eleanor knew. "You told them," she whispered. "You told them where we were." Tears streamed down Judith's face. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. They promised they wouldn't hurt you." Eleanor stared at her sister, her heart breaking. "How could you do this to me?" Judith dropped her gaze. "I didn't have a choice. They said they'd kill me if I didn't help." The man in the black coat chuckled. How touching. But we don't have time for family drama. Bring her to the van. The men dragged Eleanor outside. She fought with every bit of strength she had, but they were too strong. Please don't do this, she cried. I'm begging you. One of the men pushed her into the back of a black van. She fell onto the cold metal floor, clutching her stomach. Judith followed, climbing in behind her. Eleanor looked at her through tear-filled eyes. You've destroyed everything, she whispered. Judith knelt beside her. I'll make it right, she said softly. I'll find a way to help you escape. Eleanor turned away. She couldn't look at her sister anymore. The van drove for hours. Eleanor stared at the steel walls, praying Tyler was still alive. She thought about his soft voice, telling her he would never leave. She thought about the baby she might never hold. Finally, the van stopped. The doors opened, and Eleanor was pulled out into the blinding light of a large building surrounded by tall fences. It looked like a prison. The man in the black coat smiled as he led her inside. Welcome to your new home, Eleanor. You'll stay here until the child is born. Eleanor's heart sank. And then what? The man didn't answer. He simply locked her in a small room with cold white walls. Eleanor sat on the floor, holding her stomach. I won't let them hurt you, she whispered to the baby. I'll find a way out. I promise. That night, as the guards walked the halls outside her door, Eleanor heard a faint tapping sound on the window. She turned and gasped. Tyler's bruised face appeared in the darkness. Eleanor, he whispered urgently. I'm here. I'm going to get you out. Eleanor's heart filled with hope. But before she could answer, the door burst open. The man in the black coat stood there, holding a gun. Well, he said coldly, it seems we found our runaway hero. Tyler froze. Eleanor's breath caught in her throat as the gun was raised. The man in the black coat stood in the doorway, his gun aimed directly at Tyler's chest. The cold metal glistened under the harsh white light. Step away from the window, he ordered. Tyler slowly raised his hands. Please don't hurt her, he said, his voice calm but trembling. Eleanor was frozen in place, clutching her swollen stomach. Don't shoot, she whispered. I'll do whatever you want. Just don't hurt him. The man's lips curled into a thin smile. That's exactly what I like to hear. You will do what I want, Eleanor. You both will. Two guards appeared behind him, pulling Tyler into the room and forcing him to his knees. One guard pressed the barrel of a rifle against the back of Tyler's head. Eleanor's heart pounded. Stop. You're terrifying him. The man in the black coat crouched down to Tyler's level. Do you know why we need the baby boy? He asked softly. Tyler glared at him. Because you're monsters. The man chuckled. Because the child is worth more than you can imagine. Its blood can cure sickness. It can stop aging. Do you understand how much money that is worth? Billions. Eleanor shook her head. You can't treat my baby like an object. Oh, Eleanor, the man said, rising to his feet. You're old. You know better than anyone that the world is cruel. You give us the child and you both live. Resist, and... He tapped the gun lightly. Tyler's jaw tightened. You'll have to kill me first. The man smiled coldly. If you insist. A loud alarm suddenly shrieked through the building. Red lights flashed. Guards shouted in confusion. What's happening? The man barked. A guard ran into the room. Someone's broken into the compound. Tyler seized the moment. He lunged forward, knocking the gun out of the man's hand. The weapon skidded across the floor. Eleanor screamed as chaos erupted. Tyler grabbed Eleanor's hand and pulled her towards the door. Run! They darted into the corridor, dodging guards as bullets ricocheted off the walls. Eleanor stumbled, clutching her stomach, but Tyler wouldn't let her fall. We're almost there, he said, breathless. They reached a stairwell, but a guard appeared at the top with a rifle in hand. Tyler shoved Eleanor behind him just as a gunshot rang out. The guard crumbled. Judith stood behind him, her hands shaking, a gun clutched in her trembling fingers. "Judith," Eleanor gasped. Judith's face was pale. "I'm sorry," she said. "I never should have betrayed you. I'm going to make it right." Judith led them through a side door into a loading bay. "There's a truck outside. You can escape through the back gates," she said. "Come with us," Eleanor begged. Judith shook her head. "I'll slow you down. Go, please." Tyler hesitated, but Eleanor gripped his arm. "She's right. We have to go." They sprinted to the truck and climbed in. Tyler started the engine while Eleanor held onto the dashboard, her breaths sharp and shallow. "Tyler," she whispered, "I think the baby's coming." Tyler's heart raced. "Hold on, Eleanor. We're almost out." He slammed his foot on the accelerator. The truck burst through the back gates, metal scraping against the sides. 10 minutes later, they reached an old hospital on the edge of Kalispell. The building was nearly empty, but Tyler begged the skeleton staff for help. "We need a doctor now," he shouted as Eleanor was wheeled into a delivery room. Eleanor gripped his hand as waves of pain tore through her body. I can't do this," she whispered. "Yes, you can," Tyler said, his voice breaking. "You're the strongest person I've ever known." Tears filled her eyes. "If I don't make it—" "Don't say that," Tyler interrupted, his voice fierce. "You're going to make it. We're going to raise this baby together." The delivery was long and brutal. Eleanor screamed as the doctors urged her to push. Tyler never left her side, wiping her forehead and whispering encouragement. Finally, a tiny cry filled the room. The doctor lifted a baby girl, her face red and scrunched. "She's perfect," the doctor said softly, handing the baby to Eleanor. Eleanor cradled the child in her arms, tears streaming down her face. "Hello, my little miracle," she whispered. Tyler wrapped his arms around them both. "We did it," he whispered, his voice full of awe. The coastal town of Whitefish, Montana, was quiet and welcoming. Eleanor and Tyler found a small cottage at the edge of town, its wooden porch facing Whitefish Lake. It was nothing like the life they had left behind, but to them it was paradise. Tyler carried their newborn daughter while Eleanor followed slowly, leaning on her cane. She felt tired but lighter than she had in months. "We'll be safe here," Tyler said softly as they stepped inside. Eleanor nodded, gazing at the baby in his arms. "She's our miracle. Her name will be Hope." Tyler smiled. "Hope. It's perfect." Weeks passed. Eleanor spent her days rocking Hope in the garden, watching her tiny hands reach for the sunlight. Tyler found work at the town's small marina, and the neighbors were kind, never asking questions they didn't want to answer. One afternoon, Eleanor stood at the cottage door, watching Tyler play with Hope in the grass. Her heart swelled as she thought of everything they had survived. "We made it," she whispered, tears of joy in her eyes. Tyler looked up and met her gaze. "Yes," he said, holding Hope high in the air as she giggled. "This is home now." Eleanor stepped onto the porch and joined them, wrapping her arms around Tyler and Hope. The sun dipped low over Whitefish Lake, casting a warm, orange light across the sky. For the first time, Eleanor felt true peace. She didn't know what the future would hold, but she knew one thing for certain. They would face it together always. If this story moved you or opened your eyes, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe so you never miss stories that matter. Thanks for being here. We appreciate you deeply.